The Center for Educational Media and the College of Education at Middle Tennessee State University are proud to offer professional development to K-12 educators in Tennessee through our online video library. These videos are aligned with standards set by the Tennessee Department of Education. For more professional development videos, check out our website at cem.mtsu.edu.
We're going to do an activity on women in World War II. Almost everything that you'll be looking at is something from our collections. I had to supplement a little bit with other archives too, as we do. So we're going to split you guys up into 5 groups again, and you'll each be getting a packet. And in each packet represents one woman who did some sort of role during World War II. So this is kind of a way for students, 5th grade and high school this works best with. I've done it with 6 classes of 5th graders at Case and Lane Academy, and it worked pretty well. So this is a way for students to kind of broaden their minds of what women were doing in World War II, besides maybe some of the home front things that we think of, staying home, taking care of the kids. But they actually did a lot of different roles. So just maybe we'll do the count off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again.
1,
2,
3,
4, 1, 2, 3, 4,
5,
whichever one.
2, 3.
Okay, so we'll do the 1s over here, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. So Donna's passing out worksheets. Donna's passing out worksheets that go with the packets. So inside each packet, there's going to be a photograph of the woman and then various primary sources that relate to her. And you have to use those primary sources to answer the questions on the worksheet.
Listing. So Wilmot. I don't know where Wilmot is. Is that Tennessee?
It's talking about.
She sponsored a sort of Liars Club forum.
Oh.
Looking forward at the time of their return to a session and Tall Tales contest.
But I mean, she was big too, because I got some kids researching her, and there's another woman, and there was an African American woman too.
I've heard about. I don't remember the African American woman, but I remember hearing or reading about stories about her.
Right.
And because it was a big deal. She was not only a female, but she was also African American.
And I think 2 or 3 years from now, if you take it, it counts, and you take it, and take it 5 more. Yeah, you can take it 5 times. I mean,
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no, you can.
Remember the nurses on.
Is everybody done? Does anyone need more time? Y'all ready for this? Okay.
All right.
Whatever this is.
We'll just briefly go through each woman so you all know about each of them. So who's number 1? I'll hold up the photo for you guys. You guys want to explain who?
That is Lenore Werner, and she is from Wilmot, Illinois. She was in the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, the WAAC. And the questions on here, it says there's a newspaper article that we got that says in basic training she learned military customs and courtesies, aircraft identification, and map reading. And the poem that we have, The Skirted Soldier, it's quite long. It's front and back. And when we read it, we kind of all agreed it's very defensive. It's very it's angry, but not really angry. It's like, I can prove myself. I can do this just like the men can do this. It's very emotional in a good way. Like
we're here, we are going to be involved in the war effort.
Right.
And we can contribute.
We can do the same job the men can do. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you also guys got to do the
symbols.
A little bit of drawing.
And I'm guessing, she was a map reader, is what it says. So we had to pick some of the symbols on here to draw. And And I was saying that the symbols and stuff were rudimentary, and then he actually made a great comment on it.
They had to keep them simplified because not all the soldiers had a great education. So if you're trying to explain something to them, and then if it's so complicated, might cost them their lives in the long run.
Yeah. So all of that material actually came from this binder, which kind of serves as a scrapbook. So she kept all of this material from her time in the service, all the different kinds of documents she had to sign, and training manuals, and there's notes somewhere in the back, and she got some publications in here. So this comes from a collection called the Vicki Riggin Papers, and that is a woman who researched women in World War II, and she donated like all of her research materials, and she would go throughout the country and collect stuff like this. So a lot of the stuff you'll see today is from that collection, actually, and some of the earlier stuff that we saw. Great. Number 2.
Okay, ours was Rose Witherspoon, and she's from Nashville. She was in the Army Corps. The question was, according to her oral history, how did the war change women's roles in society? And so we just took a direct quote from an interview. So it was, once a woman can command a group of women on a military base, she can run a university, run an office, etc. It says, using the photographs, list 3 tasks women performed in the Women's Army Corps. We had switchboard operators, lab technicians, sheet metal workers, and there's a few more too.
So the purpose of having Rose was to really demonstrate to students the roles of black women during World War II, during this time. And so they also had more pictures to supplement, to show them different roles beyond just serving in the WACs like Rose did.
And then we had a data table that showed the number and percentage of blacks. And the question was, how many total black women served in the Women's Army Corps in June of 1944, and it was 3,389.
So there's kind of a mix of things to do. Can you read a graph, Can you read a map list here and, recreate a drawing of some sort? So we tried to mix it up with the kind of activities within each packet too, and as well as broadening the scope of who the women were. Number 3.
Number 3's here, and I want to do this one. This is one of my favorites, y'all. Sorry.
Adeline King.
Adeline King. Tell me a little more about Adeline.
Oh, okay. She was a standby personnel at a base here in Smyrna. Mm-hmm. Going through all this, she worked in Smyrna. She put together she would get letters from her boys, and I couldn't figure out were they friends, what have you, to make a long story short. But she would put out a bulletin for the troops overseas, and it was called the Smyrna Bulletin. And this is number 31. She fills in local things here. She also mentioned, because it was Lincoln's birthday on here, and we thought here as a group this was a morale builder. The effect was to give them a little piece of home, they could escape from the war. But she was very determined to keep whoever the boys were, looks like they were from Smyrna, keep them informed what's going on in their hometown. So that was Adeline. Now it said Miss King. Did she ever get married?
No,
She never got married. Okay, I was just curious.
She was a singleton all of her life.
Okay.
And she's, again, very atypical of her time. Never married. She was a teacher, so a little more educated than maybe some of her neighbors. Was a journalist throughout her life. The boys became the boys and girls before the war was over.
Yeah, we saw the girl.
She starts off writing to 6 of her friends who were in the service in different parts of the world. Her list of boys and girls grew to be more than 100. And she was doing this at the base, to some extent using base resources, but also a lot of her own money to do the shipping of these items, using carbon paper. When I have to explain to our students what carbon paper is and typing out, and if you make a mistake, what that looks like. We call Adeline the Facebook before there was Facebook. She is the social network for all these people and they are all Smyrna based. We know when the first use of penicillin on a civilian was in Rutherford County, because Adeline tells us. So
you have all of her bulletins?
we thought we had all of them from her, but we have them in another collection, her cousin's collection, Walter King Hoover. So we do indeed have them all, just in different collections throughout Gore Center. All right.
How did you get the collection? Just donated to you, or?
She donated it to us.
Adeline did?
Adeline did, again with her cousin suggesting she do that. Now her cousin, Walter King Hoover, we have his papers, but we have them because Sam Davis Home gave it to us, not because he did. He didn't trust us with his collection, but he did for hers. He knew that those needed to be preserved, so we're happy to do that.
All right, group 4.
We have Cornelia Fort. Doesn't say specifically where she's from. It just says that she was part of the Tennessee chapter of the 99er, which was she was employed by the Ferry Division Air Transport Command. She was a pilot in the Women's Air Force Service pilot, so she was a WASP. In the newsletter, it says that it asks what did she experience at Pearl Harbor. She was actually in the air giving instruction on flying when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and she was almost shot down. So she talks about how it was the most exhilarating and scary 15 minutes of her life, something that she never wants to have to experience again. Why was the WASP formed? It was really formed because they needed instructors and needed pilots during the war. The president requested 60,000 pilots, and she's writing to them in the 99er saying, surely some of us can be women, or surely some of those pilots can be women. What happened to the WASP on December 20th, 1944? They disbanded. That was the last day the WASP went through any of the what was required of them. And then why did women lose or leave jobs after the war was over? Well, men came home. I mean, simply put.
Right. And then, unfortunately, Cornelia did not survive.
She did not
survive to the end of the WASP. She died in 1943 in a collision in the air and over Texas, I believe. So, which distinguished her as the first female pilot in American history to die on active duty. Yeah.
Was she training or?
I think what she was doing, if I remember this correctly, she was carrying supplies to one of the maneuver sites, and she collided with another cargo plane, I think.
Though we used to say that the plane collided with her, rather the other way around.
Since you're over there.
Oh, I get to do the group number 5. Who do you have?
We have Marion Coleman, and we figured out that she was a reporter for the Associated Press. And basically her job, and she wrote an entire article for the Chattanooga Times on the training of U.S. Army Rangers.
Indeed. Marion is one of the first women to ever be assigned by the Associated Press to do military kind of coverage. And she was on site with them when she did this.
Here's her in her civilian uniform covering the Tennessee maneuvers. You can see her armband has a C on it for civilian, and we actually have that armband in our collection. And it's right over here. And I can walk this around. She's added pins to it, or she did add pins, she's passed away. Her family donated this collection to us. She also has the distinction of being one of the first Americans, male or female, to witness the atrocities of the Holocaust in person. Because after she covers the maneuvers, she works for the Office of War Information over in Europe. And she wrote a lot of the captions to photographs you see of concentration camps.
Nicholas, that's the book that I brought to your class. Was Lest We Forget was the name of the exhibit. What we found out later we didn't have this. Sarah did a lot of work on this collection. A lot of our undergraduates did. We found out she was on a show like To Tell the Truth or something like that. Not as a journalist. She owned a fire company. She, they were private in those days, so she owned one, ran it, and she ended up being on television as, whose line is this? Tell the truth, whatever. My name is Marion Coleman. But that was because of that distinction. So she did a lot of great things, and her grandson, when we opened the collection to the public, he came and was telling us more about her. She had several grandchildren that visited with us that day, but he told the best stories. She was on her deathbed, and he was there sitting with her, just, quiet, very comforting, very calming. And she says, "I hope I go to heaven." And he's like, "Oh, Grandma, I'm sure you lived a wonderful, fulfilling life. I'm sure you're going to go to heaven." She's like, "But I had a lot of lovers." And he's like, "Don't be silly. I'm sure it's fine. You're going to go to heaven." And she's like, "No, really, you don't understand." And said she smiled the biggest smile he'd ever seen her smile when she said that. So again, very interesting, but definitely with her contributions during World War II.
All right, and I will show you guys on our website where you can actually find this material. You can download it.
Did anyone have, other than us not having that one piece, did anybody have any troubles or feel like they couldn't be adapted for classroom use?
And you can always make the question. We've done this with 5th graders. We've done it with undergraduates. I didn't change the questions really, and it took them about the same time.
Motivating factors being what they are for those different groups.
Yeah, and when I did it with 5th graders at Case and Lane, kind of depended on, I'm sure you all know your teachers, different classes work faster and better with different materials. So, and we had, I think all the students were in groups of 5, and they were all working together to try to, the ones that were better at reading helped, so some classes got it real quick. The morning classes, not so much. They were kind of sleepy. But, and then some did it within 15 to 20 minutes, finished the worksheet, and then we went through like we did and went through all of the women. And then that particular day, we came to them, so I brought a lot of different World War II artifacts, and I let them put on the gloves and let them touch stuff.
They love putting on the gloves.
Mm-hmm.
Students love that.
Yeah. So yeah, any critiques or anything, feel free to.
Any questions? Oh, question. Yeah.
Do you actually come to classrooms?
Yes, we can. Okay. We can.
I'm sorry. How authentic are these materials? Like, are these just copies made to look old?
Those are surrogates, yes.
Okay.
We don't usually take the originals.
That's what I would think.
So sorry.
But I did take original artifacts. I took that armband to them. I took a Purple Heart medal and some of the pillowcases I showed you earlier. The paper doll came with me. So I explained to them, like, now this stuff is fragile. It is 70 plus years old at this point. Yeah. So that's why we put on the gloves, handle it gently. I had helpers with me. We were watching really closely. Yeah. But yeah, we can bring some original stuff as well. But yeah, everything you guys were handling, that's stuff that I just photocopied and made. And
Donna came and seen my class two of my classes in the club at my school this week, and the kids talked about it up until Friday break, and talking about how great it was and how amazing it was. So they love it.
Yeah. So our website, mtsu.edu. Can you maybe flip that one of those lights off? All of them? In the dark. And we can give you all our cards too that has this on there. mtsu.edu/Gore Center, and then this is our homepage here. And if you want to request a class visit, there's a button for that over there. And if you go to our education resources, you'll see lots of different things. This Teaching with Primary Sources explains more of what we do when we can come to your classes and all the topics that we can cover.
You'll usually find us about busy the same time, you're really super busy the same time you all are, where you have testing and all that sort of thing going on. But usually we can make it work.
And then under lesson plans here, we're building this. This is, like as Kira said earlier this morning, this is our first collaboration with them to do a workshop, and we really just started our public programming last spring semester. So this is really new. The lesson that we just did is here, Women in World War II, and you can just click this and it's all in a PDF. And then you can just print it out.
Wow.
Yay, thank you.
Wow.